מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי העליון. מי מלך מלכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. אצלכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי העליון. מי מלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Temple Beth David. We're coming to you live from Snellville, Georgia. We are delighted you are with us. We actually have more people in the pews tonight than I ever imagined. Hi, everybody. So, we are delighted you are here. We're going to go right into the candle blessing here, and I will ask Judy Kern to come down and light those candles. While she is, I want to thank Bobby Horowitz and Frank Monteleone. Yes, we are just the three of us tonight. 3 others could not be here, and I have been banished to the Bema because I was on travel this week and I did not have time to get even a rapid test result. So, at any rate, I'll be on the Bema tonight, I'll be on the Bema next Friday night, and then I will take my rightful place with these gentlemen. Then I won't be Typhoid Mary. Are you ready? You are, aren't you?
I think so.
Let's go.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. For those of you just joining us, my name is Barry Nicholsberg. I'm the cantorial soloist here at Temple Beth David. We are absolutely delighted you are with us. What I'd like you to do, please, let me see if I can find some page numbers. I'm not normally the one calling out page numbers. So, on page 138, Lecha Dodi, we hope you will join us. It's the same tune we've been using for a couple of months now. I rather like it. I like it so much, I'm even going to add a tambourine to it. When you're ready. Lecha Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala. Pnei Pnei Shabbat Nikabela Lecha Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Pnei Shabbat Nikabela La 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 Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Pnei Shabbat Nikabela Lecha Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Pnei Shabbat Nikabela Shamor v'zachor b'hipor echad השמיענו אל המנוחת אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת לה 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 לך דתי לקראת קלה פני פני שבת נקבלה לך דתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה כי תוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כי באות אדוני עלייך לי לה 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 לך דתי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דתי לקראת קלה pene Shabbat nikabela. I invite you now to rise physically and or spiritually, face the door where you came in, and let's greet the Sabbath bride. Bohi v'shalom ateret bala Gam besimchat zola Toch emunei am segola. Let's bow. Bohi chala, la 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 lechadati. Tikvat kala, pene Shabbat nikabela. Lechadati, tikvat kala, pene Shabbat. Nikabela la 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 chadati likrat kala pene Shabbat nikabela chadati likrat kala pene Shabbat nikabela. Thank you. Please be seated. On page 146, I would like to ask Bobby to lead us in the Baruch. I'm sorry, no, you're not leading us in the Baruch. You're leading us in the Reader's Kaddish. I'm not always disorganized.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
B'amal divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechonu v'yomechon Uv'chay d'chol Beit Yisrael Bagala Uvizman kariv B'imiru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'alam ulam me'amaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitala Shemei d'kudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran Palma Vimiru Amen.
I would ask you please to turn to page 146 in Mishkan Tefillah, and please join me in rising as we welcome the Sabbath with Baruch Hu. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMivorach Adonai HaMivorach mivorach le'olam va'ed. Mivorach le'olam va'ed. Please, let's see where we go next. Before I have you sit down, because I think the Shema is next, and it is, page 152. Please continue standing, spiritually or physically. And let's get ready for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Shem Kivo Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shem Kivo Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Several decades ago, I worked with a coach who said to me, if something is on your mind, you better tell people about it, because otherwise they're going to know something's up and they're not going to know what it is. Well, as some of you know, I have arthritis, and for whatever reason, it's been in this hand for about 2 weeks, and this evening it decided it would migrate to my right hip, and I can barely move, but we're going to get through it, but it is very distracting to me, so I apologize now for being semi-distracted. Page 154, the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibatar bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha u'v'leftecha b'derech u'b'shovtecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu l'tatafot ben einecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskaru ve'asitem et kel mitzvotai fiyatem kadoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeichem mieretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Would you now please turn to page 158 and join us in singing the Mi Chamocha. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh. Nora tehilot oseh feleh, Nora tehilot oseh feleh. Malechutecha ra'u vanecha, Mokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu v'yamru, Ze'elianu v'yamru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh. Nora tehilot oseh feleh, Nora tehilot oseh feleh. Thank you for joining. If you will please turn to page 160 and join us for the Hashkivenu. It is and always has been my all-time favorite lullaby. Listen carefully to the words and think of your closing your eyes and going to sleep immediately after saying these words and how much sense that makes. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom, Shalom, Yehavinu
Malkeinu L'chaim. Ufos aleinu sukat shlomecha, Ufos aleinu sukat shlomecha.
Now in English. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, until we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Thank you for joining in on that. I love that song. Last week we did Yismechu, I think, right? I think we did. So how about this week we do Vishamru? Just sort of flip them in and out. I had to say all that out loud because Bobby and Frank had no idea what we were about to do. Veshamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. B'nei Ovein, B'nei Yisrael, oti yolam. V'shamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki shel yad yamin asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz. V'shamru Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתותם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתותם. I do believe it's time for the tefillah. Would you please, yes, page 164. Would you turn to 164, please, and rise, physically or spiritually, for the tefillah. Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Savtai Tiftach, Anananananana Ufi Yagid, Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha, Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Savtai Tiftach, Ananananana Ufi Yagid, Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha, Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Savtai Tiftach, Ananananana Ufi Yagid Tahilatecha. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer chasadim tovim, v'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'megula livnei v'nehem, lema'an shemo b'yahava, melech ozer u'mashiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham, v'yetzrat Sarah. Page 168, and for those of you following along, we now use the winter words instead of the summer words. Ata gipor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakal atarav leoshiha, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechakel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somef noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asorim kayem emunato lishene afar michamocha bagevurot umido melach melech memid chaye umatzmiya mitshua V'ne'emanat alecha yor ha'akol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye akol. Page 170. Ata kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha, selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. I would like to invite Wendy Fine to the bima so that she might read on page 127, There Are Days. Mama said there would be days like this. I remember that song. There is a microphone. 127, yes, please.
There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as though we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. And so we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace.
Thank you. Yasher Koach. For those of you who don't know Wendy, she is the chair of our ritual committee and worked diligently to make sure that our High Holy Day services were in order. And I believe they were. Thank you very much. Our worlds are busy and noisy. Traffic jams, horns blaring, cell phones ringing, text messages buzzing. Too often we hear without listening. Let's take a moment to embrace the gift that only the quiet in this sanctuary or wherever you are and in our own minds can deliver. I invite you to join me in praying silently. Let's come out of this time with a beautiful song, Etz Chaim Hi.
Etz Chaim Hi, L'machazikim bach, V'tomecheha, Me'ushar Deracheha, Darchei Noah, V'chol Netzivoteha, Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh Yameinu v'kedem. Etz Chaim Hi, L'machazikim bach, V'tomecheha, Me'ushar Deracheha, Darchei Noah, V'chol Netzivoteha, Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh Yameinu v'kedem.
Gentlemen, it's always wonderful doing that piece with you. From time to time, someone will ask what my favorite song of Shabbat is, and that was it. And my thanks to Bobby, who found that rendition and got it worked up for us. We're now, I don't know what page this is on. Oh, yes, I do. Page 374. We're going to do Va'ani Tefilati. And Bobby and I were working on this earlier this evening, and we'll see how we do tonight. Va'ani tefilati L'cha Adonai ratzon Va'ani tefilati L'cha Adonai ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni b'met yishecha Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni b'met yishecha
Va'ani tefilati L'cha Adonai ratzon Va'ani tefilati L'cha Adonai ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni b'met yishecha Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni b'met yishecha Mato Ohalecha Yaakov Mato That's as meditative as it gets. Doing that right behind Etz Chaim He, I don't know how it gets any better than that. If you would, please turn to page 371, and let us take a few minutes to pray for those who are in need of a healthful prayer. If you have names you would like to add to tonight's Misha Berach list, I'm going to ask you, if you're online, just put them in the chat box, and Judy can read them from this side. And then when Judy is finished reading, I will ask those in the congregation, if you have names you would like to recite, please stand, and I will recognize you, and then we'll wrap up that part. Judy?
Andrew St. Clair, Irene Namer, Haley Silverman, Evan Manishin, David Silverman, Sam Steiner, Don St. Clair, Lanny Roan, Irene Namer, Sam Namer, Don St. Clair, all those affected by COVID-19, Doug Gillitz, Gloria Corbin, Wes and Maggie King, Don Copsey, Robert Diskin, Sarah Berlin, Susan Ellers, Bobby Crone, Ann Olin, Susie Horowitz, Linda Ehrensaft, Marcy Schulman, Joe Wagner, Sherry Silver, Barbara Frank, Wendy Fine, Shannon Pointer, Ellie Freed, Morrison Felice Friedman, David Rushin, Wendy Fine, Linda Ely, J.J. Roth, the Bernard Roth family, Andrew St. Clair, Larry Frankel, Arlene Conley, Michael Roth, Evelyn Bernard, Dennis Sadler, Lisa Ann Gaston.
Thank you. Is there anyone in our congregation who would like to add names? Wendy? Thank you. Anyone else? I will add a few then. Wendy Fine, Kenny Woodruff. You have names to add? I have no idea what she said, but I'm going to keep going. Kevin Mendez is our officer on duty this evening. We appreciate him very much. Thank you for keeping us safe, and we pray for your safety always. Nancy Galbraith, Robin Van Loo, Heather Murray, Jimmy Murray, Linda Nelson, Margaret Pennington, Shelley Perkle, Joanne Schoen, Julia Hampton, Joanne Stein, Kevin Middleton, Brenda Gibson, Mickey D'Amato, Peter Yarrow, Anya Polara, Ben DeSalvo, Marilyn Thorpe, Megumi Allen, Marie Plakos, and Esther Borg. Frank?
Bill Milligan, Nick and Connie Spinelli, Nicole Gravante, Catherine Seidel, Jim Wade, and Rabbi Fred Metcalf. Robert Diskin, Bobby Crone, Edwin Speck, Andrew Wheeler.
I'm going to add one more name to the list this evening. Out of 365 days of the year, I'm going to take a wild stab and say that this is the hardest day for Frank Monteleone all year. It was 4 years ago today that Ruthie passed. That doesn't seem possible, but it's true. Frank, all of us send our hearts out to you. Thank you for being with us this evening. Thank you for being with us all year long. Misha Berach. Oh, Bobby, did you have any names? I'm sorry.
I did.
Oh, you did? So much. Misha Berach, page 371. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with Rufuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. many years ago, Jeannie and I attended Friday night services elsewhere because we didn't live in Snellville at the time. And her favorite sermon, Devar, of all time was the following. I saw a bird today. It was very pretty. That was it. Now, it really worked for that rabbi. It really did. It wouldn't work for me. There are just no birds in this one. Sorry. Tonight, there isn't a parsha. Think about that for a second. This is the only Shabbat that there is no parsha. Instead, we read from the book of Ecclesiastes. In Hebrew, it's Kohelet. So why would we read this at this time? Let me tell you a little bit about this particular reading. It says that the same fate awaits the righteous and the wicked, the wise and the foolish. Everything material is temporary. It says that we delude ourselves into thinking that our houses and possessions will be ours forever. But on Sukkot, we realize the vanity of that assumption. Nothing we own is really ours. We are at best custodians for a world God created and entrusted to our care. Our time on earth, too, is inherently temporary. One generation comes, another goes. Like the abundant harvest of the fall that dwindles in the winter months, and like the leafy branches that adorn our sukkah, but will soon wither and crumble to dust. I'm sure that there are some folks watching us right now, streaming, and perhaps a few here in the synagogue who are old enough to remember. There was a very famous song, "To everything turn, turn, turn." That's Ecclesiastes, and that's the reading tonight. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to give birth and a time to die. A time to plant, a time to pluck up that which has been planted. I have trouble with the next one. A time to kill and a time to heal. Of course, it doesn't say a time to murder. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. What does this have to do with Sukkah? I'll get there in just a moment. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. This next one really makes me stumble. Not the first part or the last, but smack in the middle. It says, there is a time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. Those words were not in Ecclesiastes. Kohelet was the author of this particular book. And he refers to God as Ha-Elohim, literally the God. His understanding of God leaves no room for self-consciousness. Willful, supernatural being who creates and governs the world. There's none of that for him. Kohelet is more of a naturalist who sees God within and as the universe. His world isn't a fancy realm where God rewards and punishes according to some divine standard. Listen to this. This is really different. But rather, our world where bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people, and that's just the way it happens. At the heart of Kohelet's teaching is the notion of Havel. Havel means dew, vapor, breath. When Kohelet says Havel, Havalim, Hakol Havel, utter futility, all is futile. He is saying that life is impermanent. It's without a fixed nature. It's as temporary as the morning dew. Life is, as someone said, just one thing after another. Living well in Kohelet's world required knowing what moment you were in. Is it time for laughter or tears? Love or hate? Kohelet isn't even elevating one moment over another. He isn't saying laughter is better than tears or love is better than hate. He's simply noting that laughter happens and tears happen and love happens and hate happens. The key is to relax into what is happening rather than to seek to change what is into something else that might appeal to God as an act of will. Just be who you are. You cannot change what is. You can only relax into it, knowing that it will, of its own accord, soon change into something else. So how do we live well in a fluid world? A world without certainty, surety, and security. Kohelet's instruction is simple, practical, and to me compelling. Eat simply, drink wisely, find work that gives you joy, and cultivate a few loving friendships. What is good for the individual is good for society at large. And Kohelet is calling us to create a world where everyone has access to healthy food, clean water, joyous work, and the freedom to love whomever they love. The book concludes with these words: the sum of the matter, when all is said and done, revere God and observe His commandments, for this is the whole of every person. So how does this relate to Sukkot? On Sukkot, a keen awareness of temporality intensifies our yearning to know the comfort of God's eternal presence. Sukkot, like the book of Kohelet, is all about the relationship between the temporal and the eternal, reminding us of what's truly enduring. There's a lot to think about. If we were to live in a sukkah for 7 days, we may realize just how temporary we are. It's a lot to think about. But I've been studying this for a few days, and I'm starting to come to terms with it. I do have a problem. Time to hate seems to be okay in his world. Hating is just so exhausting. Hate is not the difference or the opposite of love. Indifference is the opposite of love. With that I wish you a Shabbat Shalom and hope that tonight's Devar encourages you to think about some things you may not have thought about before. Shabbat Shalom. Would you please rise to page 586 and join me for the Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשי, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצו, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונה. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה הארץ, ומושב יקרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושינת עוזו בגוהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו, אמת מלכנו אפת זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשיבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. Page 588. For you spread out the heavens and established the earth. Your majestic abode is in the heavens above, and your mighty presence is in the loftiest heights. You are our God, and there is none else. In truth, you are our sovereign without compare, as is written in your Torah. Know then this day, and take it to heart, that Adonai is surely God in the heavens above, and on the earth below. There is none else. Page 591. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. We have a custom here, Temple Beth David, which we started when COVID started killing people. It certainly hasn't let up. And so while this next piece, El Malei Rachamim, is usually only sung during Yizkor or at a grave site, we have been doing it every Friday night to remember those who have died far before their time. El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim
Shochein baromim, Hamse menucha nechona, Tacha kanfei, HaShekhinah, Im kedoshim atiharim, Kezohar harakia, Masirim, Lanishmot, Ruthie Monteleone, Yakireino, Shalom le'amam, Bal harachamim, harachamim, Yasti rem b'sefter kinafav li'olamim, V'yitzror, Bitzror hachayim et nishmatam, Adonai hu nachalatam, V'yanu b'shalom hamishkavam, V'nomar Amen. Give me a second, I'll be back. I can't just come out of that and go about my business. It's not possible. Or if it is possible, I don't want to be that person. Page 598. Let us remember those who have died recently and in the past, those who were members of our congregation and others who were close to us. Judy Kern, I'd like to call on you first to read names that have been put into the computer for you.
Olivia King,
Thank you. Is there anyone? Yes, Wendy. If anyone else is in a period of Shiva the first 7 days, we are in that period for Annette Carter. Anyone in a period of Shloshim the first 30 days? We remember the following: Bob Molnar, Vicki Morton, Zelda Abbas, Richard Eggers, Joel Kellner, Daniel Jacob Horowitz, Emilia Gress, Marcia Manishin, Irma Schiller, Phyllis Blooming, Daniel Joseph Middleton, Larry Kramer, David Yarborough, Sylvia Cart, Rossi Davis, Laura Rosignac Rosen, Louis Jutzi, Michael Bernard, and Ruthie Monteleone. We also remember Patricia Weber, Deanna Shanker, and Sylvia Coran. Are there any other names you would like to add? Would you all please rise and join those who are in mourning as together we recite the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן כעריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו. לעלמים כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, and let us say, amen. Please be seated.
Thomas O'Neill, Nicholas Stucchio, Olga Martin, Paul Martin.
Thank you. If you will please turn to page 647 in your Mishkan Tafila. Please join us in singing Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Imroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael V'imeru Amen.
Oseh Shalom Imroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael V'imeru Amen.
Oseh Shalom Imroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yakol
Israel V'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Imroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yakol
Israel
V'imeru Amen.
Oseh
Shalom Imroma Uyaseh
Shalom
Aleinu V'yakol Israel V'imeru
Amen. Last time.
Oseh Shalom Imroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'yakol Israel V'imeru Amen.
We'll get to announcements in just a moment. I'm going to ask for just a moment of your time to wish Andrew St. Clair, Jim Murray, Heather Murray, a speedy return here. And until you're back, we will do our best to hold down the fort. Know that you're missed. Judy, you're our president, you probably have something to say.
Yeah. I want to thank Officer Kevin Mendez for watching over us and keeping us safe tonight. I want to remind everybody there are 6 more days to contribute to Virtual Project Isaiah. The link is in the chat. It's also on the website. Last I heard, we were far behind our total from last year, so if you are financially able, please consider making a donation to the food bank to help those who are food insecure. Tomorrow, there's a slight change. We will not be streaming on YouTube. We will be on Zoom and in person. The information for logging on to Zoom is on the website. You have to log in first, and then on the calendar newsletter tab, the third sub-tab has online program links, and all the information is right there.
Thank you. Bobby, anything you'd like to add? Okay. Frank, anything? If you will rise, we will close the service as we usually do with V'yarechecha, a priestly blessing.
Yivarechecha Adonai Yishmerecha.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
May Adonai shed light upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May Adonai lift you up and grant you peace.
V'yasem lecha shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.